Hello and welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures that Outperform. I'm Frank Wander. I'm the CEO and founder of People Productive, and I'm here with my incredible co-host, Terry Mays, who interestingly is a certified culture engineer. And we love bringing Terry on for her broad expertise on how the human side of business actually works. Today, we have a very good episode for you. We're going to be talking about the Pygmalion Effect, how people rise to meet your level of engagement. This is real. I've experienced it myself. I've experienced it as a subordinate. I've experienced it as a leader leading organizations. And people do, in fact, rise to meet your level of expectations, or they fall to meet them. And this is all totally up to you. This is science. We'll go through some of it today. We'll talk about it. This has been pretty well studied. And it is a powerful tool. If you can just change, your vibe and how you actually what you expect from people and raise the level of productivity of your organization, that is no cost to you. That's an incredibly powerful tool when you think about it, especially when you consider the number of people employed in these organizations and setting high expectations for the organization as well as the people and letting them feel that is one of the things that you've got to figure out how to do as a leader. And you have to be sincere. People will absolutely be able to tell if you're not sincere about the expectations because it's a vibe. What you say doesn't matter. It's a combination of what you say and how you approach them and that vibe you give off. And that's what really matters. Tara, you've experienced it yourself, right?
Yeah, I've absolutely experienced this. There have been times when I've been new to a team or working on a project, and right away, the manager immediately said, "Oh, Terry's smart. She's going to be a great fit for the team. She's going to
Mhm.
be, add a lot of value to the team." Like when the expectation was set that way, and my strengths were kind of spoken over to the team, right away, I felt like, "Oh, I'm important," or "He's value me," or "She values me." And so it right away makes me feel like, "Okay, how can I add value? How can I do the very best that I can do?" It's just the way that the brain is wired. When you encourage people and think the best of them, this is another one of those things that you can't fake it till you make it. You really do have to think the best for people and think great thoughts towards them. But when you do that, it automatically boosts their self-esteem. People
It
feel
does.
like, I'm excited to be on this team. The people care about me. They know that I have great strengths and that I can add value to the team. And so you're constantly looking for ways that you can do it without even thinking about it. It just kind of happens naturally.
Yeah, it's amazing. The first time I encountered this, actually, I came across this book, and I guess somebody had talked about it. I actually wrote up this in my book on how to transform IT cultures because I thought it was so important. But this book came out in 1968, Pygmalion in the Classroom. And, Jacobson and Rosenthal, actually, Jacobson was a researcher, Rosenthal was a principal at the school in Los Angeles. And what they did was they told the teachers for the incoming students, this was, I think, first and second grade, that certain students had outperformed and they basically ignored the test results. The kids did take a test, they ignored them. And then they randomly put the kids into groups of performance. And they told the teachers based on the test, here's what we expect from, the kids. These are your high performers, basically. So here was that expectation being set. And lo and behold, at the end of the year, those kids where the expectations were higher, in fact, performed better than the ones where there were no expectations. So it worked both ways. The teachers were more inclined probably to spend a little more time with those kids. Maybe they had that vibe about them that said, hey, wow, I think you're really good. I don't know the details of what happened. I'd have to go back and read the book. I have it. But the basic effect was they showed that this had a real impact on the performance of the students. And
Absolutely.
they've tried to replicate this and they've had some problems, but they have successfully replicated this elsewhere. And if you're a leader, you have absolutely got to use this as a tool to drive higher levels of performance for your organization. It is free and it is so powerful. I've used it.
Yeah.
It's no,
Those times when somebody comes to me and says, this is complicated. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. It's tough. Lots of people fail at it. When they come to you with that kind of vibe about it, before you even have a chance to look at it, it automatically starts to make you feel like, I wonder if this is really as hard as they say it is, or is
yeah,
this going to be something I can do? Versus if somebody tells you that you can do it, you right away start to believe, yes, I can do
absolutely.
it. So why even waste the time thinking little of your people? Like, it's just counterproductive. As a leader, you
Yeah,
want to make sure that you're always thinking the best towards your people, because when you spend all of that negative energy, it's a vibe. And we've talked about this many times about how we as human beings have a vibe, and it's a sensing that people have about you just from meeting you the very first time. When you walk into a
yeah,
room, people get a vibe from you by the way that you carry yourself in the room. So all of this matters in the workplace because it impacts the ability for people to either go all in and buy into the vision for what you're doing, or they kind of check out. And we've had several conversations about people being present but absent,
yeah.
and that's not what you want on your team. You definitely
That's
don't want a team of people that are there physically but mentally checked out.
yeah, no question. And have biases, and when you have an expectation about someone, it's a bias. That bias is communicated, it gets felt. It's called the stereotype effect. And they actually did a study on women taking math tests. And actually, it was a whole group of people taking tests, but the women had to record their gender at the beginning before they took the test. And so the control group didn't have to do that, but the women in this other group had to. And they performed worse on the test as a group because they already had that sense that they were expected to perform worse because they were women. And so you
Yeah.
can see this carries out in many different situations, many different situations. And
Yeah.
it's real and it affects people's performance. And you have to manage this.
Yeah.
You should have
You
high
know,
expectations for everyone.
and it's not, so I don't want to make a blanket statement that everybody is this way, because sometimes people are wired to the point where if you challenge them and say no, you can't do it, they're bound and determined to prove you wrong.
Oh,
So
sometimes that's a
there's
huge motivator. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So there's a balance with this. But once you really start to understand the people in your organization, there's just no limit to the effects and the positive effects that your organization will see from there being communication to the team members that makes them feel valued and included. That there's just no end to what you can expect to see in your teams when you trust people and you expect the best from them and you tell them that up front and you let them know how much you value them and what they mean to the team. Those teams, when I've been under a leader that talked to me in a way that made me feel respected and valued, included, it was always a better experience where I was able to share ideas. I was more creative. I didn't waste as much time doing mindless tasks. I was always looking for ways to improve what I was doing and do it to the very best of my ability, because I felt like, this team wants to succeed and I want to do my part to make it happen.
Yeah, this is all part of the human experience, and understanding how these human factors drive human performance is a key to building a highly productive human experience for your workplace. All of these things are real, whether we're talking about inclusion, whether we're talking about a sense of belonging, or whether we're talking about people's achievement needs. We've covered so many of these in different episodes. But you need to understand that you're creating a human experience in the workplace if you're a leader, and you give off a vibe. And this is an example of how that vibe can have an impact. And then the organization itself has a vibe. Some people call it the organizational climate. You could call it org vibe. The reality is that vibe is picked up. Humans soak it in, and they either raise their level of energy or lower it to be in sync with the vibe of the place. And
Mhm.
so these are very, very powerful factors that drive human performance. Very powerful. It's everything. If you're not in this game, you're not playing the game. You got to know
Yeah.
and understand this, and you should be able to use these things intentionally because people will rise to meet your level of expectations. I think there's absolutely no question about that. This is science. It's beyond even something you can question.
Yeah.
Stuff really matters.
And you want to work smart, not hard. And one way that you can work really smart is by expecting the best, always expecting the best. And I know some people are kind of hardwired to be glass half empty kind of people. But when it comes to the people that are in your organization, if you can flip that switch to say, I'm going to expect the best no matter what, it is going to help you in so much, go so much further in the long run. Things are just going to be run so much smoother when you can have a team of people that enjoy working together, that collaborate. All of that happens when you start speaking positivity over people. It's just a fact.
Yeah, it is a huge fact. So look, this is science. There's no question. I've done many, many research projects on it. There was a lot of debate over what Rosenthal and Jacobson achieved when they ran those experiments, and some people had trouble actually repeating it in schools. But they did do an experiment using the Israeli Defense Forces, and I won't go into the details, but they proved that that effect worked. So this is science. It's just hard science. It's a fact. You should use this as a tool. And you should tune in every Wednesday at 3 o'clock to see what we're covering. We haven't chosen a topic for next week, but we're going to pick another area of science that drives human performance. We're going to be covering that in detail. And this is really powerful. And so I think you should join us every Wednesday at 3 to see what's going on, learn the human factors, and build an organization that outperforms. Because this is how you do create a culture that really is one of the best and most productive, right, Tara?
That's right. So join us live. We'd love to hear your comments, your questions. Feel free to reach out to us at coach@peopleproductive.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, right here. You can always reach out to us at Coach of People Productive, and we will get back to you. We would love to take in your questions and really chat with you about that. So look, we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care till then.
Yes. Bye for now.